Welcome back to the DaBoot Tragedies. I thought the Sean Payton coaching news was going to come around slowly these first couple weeks just because he can't be interviewed until January 11th. Well, I was wrong. Obviously, the Broncos already contacted the Saints to get in touch with Sean Payton. That has happened. I believe an interview is set up. We'll get into that later. But two other teams have thrown their names into the mix. Arizona Cardinals and the Houston Texans. I think both of these are interesting spots, interesting things that Sean Payton probably will look into. They've made their calls. They made contact with him. Hopefully an interview gets set up because in the Saints case, the more teams, the merrier. Before I go into specifics about these teams, these three different teams, I want to talk about the compensation that the Saints can ask for and demand for Sean Payton. One thing's clear, it's not going to be anything crazy just because Sean Payton decided to walk away from this team. If Sean Payton was coaching this team still and the team wanted to trade for him, this trade would be absolutely crazy. Unfortunately for us, and unfortunately for this season, he was no longer with the Saints. Dennis Allen's obviously the head coach, and the first guy I want to talk about is Dennis Allen, the old Oakland coach. John Gruden went from Oakland to Tampa Bay, and he went for 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. Sean Payton will get none of that. He will get none of that, not because he's not a better coach than John Gruden, just because that's just not going to happen anymore. That's just an outlier. Then you have Herm Edwards, who went for a 4th-round pick. Now, Sean Payton, he's going to command more than that. He's definitely going to get more than a 4th-round pick for the Saints. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle of those two trades. I know that's a far spectrum. That's a very top end and very bottom. And I think the Saints can get a 1st-round pick and maybe a 2nd if they're lucky, or a 3rd or 4th. I think it's more realistic. But I would shoot for 2 firsts. Honestly, if I'm Mickey Loomis, I'm shooting for 2 firsts. You can't get that. Maybe drop it down to a 1st, a 3rd, and a 5th or something like that. But you have to try to get the max value out of Sean Payton. Now, if we're going to start with the Denver Broncos, we can talk about the picks they have in this upcoming draft. They have the 1st-round pick from the San Francisco 49ers, which is the 29th pick right now. It all depends on how the playoffs, turn out. Then they have 2 third-round picks, number 68 and 69, 4th, 5th, a 6th, and a 7th. Now, this is very interesting because I just said I think it's going to take a 1st-rounder and maybe a 3rd-rounder. Now, with the Broncos having 2 third-rounders and now they have a 1st-rounder, maybe that can get a deal done. Broncos have new ownership, so money's not going to be an issue. I already spoke on the Waltons. They have the money to give Sean everything he wants. It's a quarterback there. Even though Russell Wilson had a down year, that's still a proven quarterback, a guy that's on the Hall of Fame path. So that's definitely going to intrigue Sean Payton. They have, good receivers over there. They have Hamler, Sutton, Judy. So it's weapons over there. It's definitely weapons in Denver. It all depends on if Sean Payton wants to go there. Now, I don't know if they want to give those picks up after the season they had. Maybe they want to hold on to those picks. But, you already traded all your picks anyway. Let's be real. Seattle owns all your picks, all your rights. You might as well just give up a 1st and a 3rd round if you get Sean Payton out of it. It's right where you started anyway. You gave up Bradley Chubb for that 1st. I know that's going to hurt to lose that 1st because now it's like you trading Bradley Chubb for Sean Payton. But hey, it is what it is. If y'all want to win, that's the deal that I can see happening if the Broncos were to move on with Sean Payton and he wanted to go there. Now we'll move on to the Arizona Cardinals. This is definitely going to be another interesting one. They fired their GM or he stepped away. You know how that goes. Also, no longer have a coach. They're interested in Sean Payton. Now this team is very, very interesting because obviously they have Kyler Murray, who's a great quarterback, but he's coming off an ACL injury, so you don't know how he's going to recover from that. You got Deshaun Hopkins that kind of doesn't want to be there no more. He posted on Instagram that thank you for the memories or something like that. Forever grateful, I think was the quote. You got J.J. Watt that just retired, but it's weapons over there. You got James Conner at running back, Hopkins, who's still under contract, I believe, still over there. You got Hollywood Brown, and I know Sean Payton can get creative with Hollywood Brown, Hopkins, Kyler Murray once he's healthy. They got James Conner at running back, so a solid run game. Now it just comes down to compensation and if he wants to go there. They own the 1st-round pick in this draft, which is number 3. Not sure they want to give up a number 3 pick for a coach. They also have a second round pick, number 35, 3rd round pick, 4th round pick, 6th round pick. Now, you obviously can go into next year picks. You can just go into 2024 picks if they want to give up a 1st round next year or a 2nd round next year. They can always do that. You don't have to be tied to the 1st round of this year. So maybe the Saints would say, hey, all right, since y'all don't want to give up y'all 3rd pick in the draft this year, just give us y'all 2024 next year's pick, and we'll take a 3rd rounder this year. That's also a possibility. You just never know how those things are going to work out. But if I'm Mickey Loomis, I'm starting with number 3. If you give me number 3, we can hang up. We don't need a 3rd. We don't need a 4th. We don't need a 5th. You give me number 3, you can have Sean Payton tonight. Take him. Bye. Adios. Obviously, that would be the best case scenario for the Saints. You get a number 3 pick. The Bears are not going to take a quarterback at number 1. Then you have the Texans and the Cardinals. I mean, that leaves you with the pick of the litter at quarterback if that's what you want to go, if that's the route you want to take. If one of these quarterbacks, feel can be take the keys over for this franchise, then that's what you do. You don't get a number 3 pick to, take a tackle or a guard, especially in the position the Saints are in right now. If you somehow got that pick, that's definitely a quarterback worthy pick right there. Now, this last team is very, very interesting. I think the most interesting team out of all 3 so far that's actually talked to Sean Payton, and that would be the Houston Texans. Sean Payton lives in Texas. Let's throw that out there as a caveat. He was coaching in Dallas. I think he has a house in Westlake, which is about 30 minutes away from Dallas. But the Houston Texans have a shit ton of picks. They got that Deshaun Watson trade. So picks. They have them all. This year they hold the second pick in the draft. They hold the 12th pick in the draft. That's from Cleveland. The 33rd pick in the second round, which would be the first pick in the second round, or really the second because the Dolphins lost their pick. They don't have a first rounder. Then they have the 65th, a 73rd. So 2 third-rounders, a second, 2 first-rounders, a fourth, a fifth, and I think 4 sixth-rounders, and actually one's from the Saints. So they have a shit ton of picks this year. And also, guess what? Next year, they're going to have picks again. So them losing picks this year won't hurt because they'll be reloading again next year with a shit ton of more picks. So, hey, when it comes to draft capital and a team willing to give up the draft capital, that would be the Houston Texans now. Sean Payton will have to want to go there. That team is absolutely dog crap. Let's just be honest. The Texans are not a good football team. So Sean Payton's going to have to, believe in the GM, which he's going to want to be, by the way. Going to have to believe in the ownership that, hey, we're going to spend money. We're going to gut this team and bring in the team I want, bring in the coaching staff I want, bring in the quarterback I want, and holding that number 2 pick in the draft. They basically get the quarterback, whatever quarterback Sean Payton wants. If that was the case, if he went to Houston, whatever quarterback he wants, he'll get them at number 2. If he thinks Stroud's the best guy, he thinks Will Levis is the best guy, he thinks Bryce Young is the best guy, he can have any one of those guys because the Bears are not going to take a quarterback at 1, having Justin Fields. So that may be intriguing to Sean Payton. And on the Saints case, they have the number 12 pick in the draft from Cleveland. We would love to take that number 12 pick on your hand. That's basically where we finished at this year. Anyway, you get a number 12 pick for the Saints. Maybe they got 2 third-rounders. You get one of those third-rounders. Maybe get a 6 out of it. I think the Texans are really willing to give up these picks, especially with all those picks next year. They still going to have picks to, maybe move up in the draft or, have some draft flexibility in the next couple years. So, hey, who knows? I just don't think the team is ready for Sean Payton to go there. I'm sure he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild project or anything like that. So that's probably going to be the hardest sell for Sean Payton want to go there. But, hey, they're making phone calls. They're interested in him. That's their job to sell him. That's their job to sell Sean Payton. So hopefully they do because they have the most draft capital, and I think they're a desperate team and they're ready to win. I'm sure they're tired of being bad. They've been bad since they've been in the NFL, and maybe they think Sean Payton's the answer. I hope they think Sean Payton's the answer, and they will take those picks. We will take those picks. Sean Payton's obviously a great coach. We saw it firsthand this year when he left the Saints what happened. So, a team is definitely going to take a chance. And maybe more phone calls will come in. This is 3 teams already. The season just ended. I'm sure it's going to end up being every team with a head coaching opening will probably call Sean Payton and call the Saints to, ask to get an interview with him. So I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be a fun process. Look like it's going to be a crazy process. Hopefully it becomes a bidding war. Hopefully he doesn't just choose one team. Hopefully he has 2 destinations he wants to go to. And maybe those teams can battle it out with picks for the Saints. We'll see how this turns out. But it looks like he's going to coach this next season. He's not going to be fielding all these calls and doing all of these things if he doesn't want to coach next season. So he definitely wants to coach. He just has to find the right situation, with ownership, GM, management, all of those things. And then Saints have to find the right partner with compensation. So look like it's going to happen this offseason. Hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later. Actually, I know it'll be sooner rather than later because if you want to be a head coach of a team, you want to get in that building right now. Get starting on the draft scouting. Get your coaching staff together. So we'll see how this works out in the future. But the Sean Payton news is getting rolling and it is making some noise. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below about the teams that's offered him already or not offered him or just asked to talk to him already. As always, it's DaBoot Tragedies, and I'm out.